Warning. This video contains super awesome content not suitable for people who don't enjoy super awesomeness. Viewer discretion advised.
The wrestling podcast that sets all other podcasts apart. Covering news from the world of WWE, AEW, TNA, and more. Your favorite weekly episodic podcast, Ramblers Unleashed, starts now.
Well, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Absolutely. Let's get rambling. I got to remember to shut up and let him talk. Let him do his thing. What's going on? It is Ramblers Unleashed, back for another Sunday night edition of some wrestling talk. And we took Saturday off because J-Bone actually had some pretty big news that I didn't know about. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody. As of right now, Baron is out. He is eating, I think he said, Outback Steakhouse or Texas Roadhouse, or he's somewhere having a steak with he and Mrs. Baron. So he'll be back hopefully next week. In the meantime, let's introduce our neighborhood heel, a man with more wrestling knowledge in his pinky finger than Tony Khan could ever muster up, and the only guy that I know that pops bigger for Joel Gertner than any of us on this show. You can address him as Mr. Magus, but we call him the mighty Maximus Magus. Golfers clap. Max, how are you, sir?
You know what? Yeah, cool. Yeah, bring it. Come on. Listen, look, let me just say something. First off, I was speaking very nicely of you when we got muted to go live, and then you interrupted George Clooney, of all people. That's so rude. I'm taking away the suggestion we throw you a party, okay? Now, I got something big. It's not wrestling news, but it's the biggest news, in my opinion, to come out of this last week. In the 80s, a movie was made about a group of friends trying to save their home. That movie was The Goonies. That's right. It has been announced, came out this week, that The Goonies will be getting a sequel all these years later. And I can tell you right now, yes, exactly. And I can tell you that I am excited. This is probably the most excited I've been. I'm even more excited than I was when I heard the news about the tag team that signed with WWE that we will discuss here soon.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm excited for the new Goonies. I hope they do it justice. I hope they don't mess it up.
Well, they're bringing the original cast back, so
that's good. That's good. I mean, Corey Feldman might be a little weird, but it is what it is.
Well, honestly, the two I'm worried about are the lady that played Mama Fratelli and the guy that played Sloth, because if you bring them back for this, that's how you start the zombie apocalypse, because they already passed away.
Yeah.
That's not possible.
Yeah, no, right. But speaking of our producer, let's go ahead and introduce him, the producer of our show, the man, the myth, the absolute legend, for without his tech wizardry and the gizmos that he brings to the show, plus his vast wrestling knowledge, and of course his missus, who is so kind to gift us his time to do this show. For without him, we wouldn't be here today. The host of Smash This Podcast and Total Nonstop Impact with the latest TNA news over any other YouTube podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the great and infamous J-Bone. Golfers clap. J-Bone, how the hell are you, buddy? You got some
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I think he's hearing some voices in his head.
Right.
No, it's just sometimes I forget what those the applause tracks sound like, and it's like, woo, hey, woo, hey.
Yeah. So
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Good. We were not live on Saturday like we normally do, but that's okay because J-Bone, you had some pretty big news, and I didn't even know you had this news, man.
I was just kind of working on it quietly. Because I'm an old bone, I forget who I tell and who I don't. And I used to put all this stuff online on social media, and I didn't do that this time. So, but I got a new job. So I started on Saturday, and I've got a few. It was like orientation and boring computer stuff. But so my actual new work schedule actually starts Wednesday night. So, but I'm excited. So
yeah, man.
And
go
they
ahead,
say
Max.
the memory is the second thing to go, J-Bone.
Yeah.
Oh, the first thing is
Yeah, I can't remember either.
oh shit.
Now, one more thing before you start yapping again, Dizzy. Every week we do this. You come in here, you introduce all of us, but there's one introduction that is left out. And I would like to make that introduction for you today because you never do it for yourself. Listeners of the Ramblers, the host of this show, the man with the plan, the guy that gets us all the news stories. We try, but this guy like outshines us. Like I shared a news story this week, and then boom, 10 more came in right after mine. It's so hard to keep up with this guy, as much effort as he puts in. He has a face only a mother can love. He's got a voice to do this job. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Dizzy.
Oh, golfers clap on that, Max. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was nice. Thank you. That was very appreciative of that. Thank you.
I'm shocked and mildly appalled. That was very kind of you, Max. We don't say it enough, Diz. You are you have the golden voice that we follow. So yeah, we love you and appreciate you.
Oh, you guys
excuse me. We love you and appreciate you.
Look,
well, my
I
voice.
May be the heel. I may be the asshole of the show.
Yeah.
But I've always been a firm believer that if someone deserves recognition, they should get the recognition. And you never give yourself recognition. So tonight, you deserve the recognition. And if I gotta, I'll have J-Bone clip that, and we'll play that every week.
There you go.
I will write that down. I'll go back and listen to this on a replay and write that down and send it to you. So
let it start your day.
That's the best part of waking up right there, buddy. My voice is speaking of my voice, man. It's been a little raspy today. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because some personal news on me. I went to a concert on Friday night, and it was Soul Asylum and Stone Temple Pilots who were performing live. And yeah, there was a good show, but here's the thing, man. It rained like the entire time we were there, which sucked.
Oh, jeez.
And like, okay, so the opening band, the Josh Holland band, played, and they got all of their 30 minutes set in. And right at the last song, it started like spritzing, and then it just poured up. I mean, it just opened. I mean, the floods just opened up, man, and it just poured. And Soul Asylum didn't go on the stage until like 8:30, and I had some friends there at the show too, so I was hanging out with them, and I was down on
that.
Yeah, and I mean, I was down at with the general admission and next to the stage and stuff, and it started to rain, so it kind of sucked, but Soul Asylum got their whole set in, and then Stone Temple Pilots came onto the stage, and they did 3 songs, and it just started pouring, and they're like, "We're done, bye."
Yeah, you got to stay safe. You can't.
I don't mean to brag, but last Sunday I had a similar experience, but it was a better situation, and it was better bands. We went and saw Cheap Trick. Don't do that. No. I'm the one that makes the funny gestures, not you.
I was so Temple Pilots.
We went to Cheap Trick. We saw Journey, and we saw Def Leppard. Weather stayed nice the whole time, and it was definitely 3 better bands. Listen, before anybody takes that the wrong way, Stone Temple Pilots, Soul Asylum, great bands. I just think Def Leppard and Journey are better.
Oh, they're iconic. Yeah.
Unfortunately, of course, the last 16 years, it has not been Steve Perry, but not Steve Perry was great. He's phenomenal. He's a great singer. I really enjoyed Journey, and Def Leppard have always puts on a good show. They always do.
His name is Arnel Pineda, by the way.
Yes, they said that during the show.
He is great. He really is.
You know how they found that guy? Neil Sean was on YouTube, and he was in a Journey cover band at bars, and he was also doing some like David Bowie stuff. But he sang a Journey song, and Neil was just blown away because look, it is hard to replicate Steve Perry. Really hard to replicate Steve Perry. They've had one guy try to go take Journey onto a new level, and he just didn't cut it. And then they stopped touring because they couldn't find anybody, because you really got to have that voice that Steve Perry has to make Journey. You know,
are you talking about that Steve Augury guy?
Yeah, somewhere around. I think that's his name. I don't know.
It's close. Yeah,
I saw him a long time ago in St. Louis when they came for the St. Louis Fair, and it was okay. You know, it wasn't. It was about what I would expect as when Journey first started as a prog rock band before they had their commercial success and things like that. But Arnel Pineda is like the closest to Steve Perry that we are ever going to get. But I don't know how much longer they're going to be touring Journey as a band, because there's some stuff going on. Apparently, Neil Sean has a tape for the High Life, and he's ran up their credit cards pretty severe to the point where they have more debt than what they're bringing in on a show. So I don't know how
there's lawsuits going on too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's lawsuits going on between the band members, but it's better than Jane's Addiction, punching Dave Navarro on stage,
So I had nicknames for the people on stage, and it was because it was Arnel Pineda, not Steve Perry, and that whole, not Steve Perry is singing. So I had nicknames, and Neil Sean was guy who thinks he's God's greatest gift to guitars. And listen, don't get me wrong, the man is a phenomenal guitar player. But if you watch his face while he's playing the guitar, he knows how good he is. He knows.
Yeah, well, he will never be Eddie Van Halen. Nobody will ever be Eddie Van Halen.
No, but I got to say, one underrated band that Neil Sean was in that everybody should check out from, oh my God, I can't believe it's like 30 years ago now, is Hardline.
Yeah, that's a band I haven't heard of in a long time.
Great album. And they're still doing stuff, but it's the lead singer and a bunch of different guys.
Yeah.
The lead singer's, I can't think of the guy's name. He still got it, though.
It's crazy to see how many of these bands are still touring and still doing, still making music, man. And it sucks that Jane's Addiction, they broke up so long ago, and then they said, you know what, we're going to get back together. We're going to put all of our differences aside and just go do the music. And Farrell is Perry Farrell. I think his name is Perry. Yeah. Perry Farrell. So his wife, and I know this is a wrestling show, but we'll get to some wrestling, I promise you.
I mean, just to be fair, we are ramblers, so sometimes we ramble about other stuff.
Yeah.
You've been warned.
Yeah, no kidding. Perry's wife made a social media comment after the video went viral and news sources all picked it up. Perry's wife made some comments saying that the reason that the fight happened is because the band was too loud. Like, they were so loud you couldn't hear Perry's vocals, or Perry couldn't even hear his own vocals. And the crowd was telling Perry, like, hey, we can't hear you, bud. Plus, Perry had also downed like a big ass bottle of red wine, apparently on stage or backstage.
There's a lot more than that.
Probably. And I don't know. I mean, it's been how many years since we've seen Jane's Addiction live, and I don't think we're going to be seeing any more of them.
No, not unless they find a new singer. I mean, Perry Farrell, Number one, you don't down a bottle of wine before a show. Maybe 30 years ago, yeah, that was cool. No, I'm sorry, that's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
You got these bands that are trying to, like, I mean, you know what? We brought up a band earlier that is probably one of the better bands to go check out if you want to see a band that is literally keeping their shit together, is Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They are all, I mean, with the exception of the one guy that's missing an arm, they are all perfect health.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry.
I mean, is that missing arm really a detriment to him though? I watched the man play. He's fully healthy right now. Yeah, he lost that arm like 30 years ago, and it hasn't slowed him down a bit. The guy is phenomenal.
Actually, it's more like 40 now.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. And I'm not going to defend the drinking before going on stage. I'm not going to defend that. That's, you got to make a choice. If you choose to drink, then that's on you. However, my understanding of the situation, and the alcohol did not help, I guarantee that. But my understanding of the situation is he already thought there was friction. He thought people were out to get him from the band for whatever reason. And then to have the band be louder than his vocals, in his brain, he put all that together as somebody's intentionally turning me down. Now, were they? I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't speak for the sound guy. I can't speak for the rest of the band. But in his brain, that's what happened.
But
someone intentionally was, huh?
But I'm just saying, whether that's a thing or not, then it's like, okay, shit, fine. You know what? Stop the fucking song, get the sound right, and continue. The fans ain't gonna give a shit. But that's why you do sound checks.
I want to give credit to Dave, because Dave basically just tried to hold him back and wanted to try to de-escalate. But then somebody else, Ethan something, I don't know.
Eric Avery.
Eric Avery came in, and I don't know what your personal definition of de-escalate is, but headlock with punches to the gut, that is not de-escalation. We call that escalation.
Yeah. And that apparently happened backstage between the two, and because their road manager came on stage and broke it up between Navarro and Perry, and there were like three other people plus Eric Avery who tried to get Perry to calm the hell down, and then they took him backstage. Navarro took his guitar off, laid it on the stage, and then he walked over to the opposite side, and that is apparently when Eric Avery put him in a headlock and delivered some punches to the gut. Maybe Perry was trying to fight him. We don't know. I don't know, but right now the backstage is all. Well, yeah, I mean, Eric is probably mad because, these fans, they paid their good money to go see Jane's Addiction, and now they're going to get robbed because Perry wants to be a douchebag.
Right.
It's
not all about him,
man. No.
We talked about Def Leppard having their shit together. Let's take it another step further. Listen, if you are a rock band out there, hey, if you're doing great, we appreciate that. But listen, here's a few examples that you should try to live up to. Def Leppard, they don't really get involved in controversy. Twisted Sister, Dee Snider, you know what controversy they got involved in? The hearings back in the late 80s and 90s to determine whether parental advisory should go on albums. You should learn to be more like Dee Snider. Learn to be more like Frank Zappa, because he was also part of that. That was his biggest controversy. And John Denver. These are three of my favorite people. All right? Yeah. You should emulate them and not the ones that trash and burn hotel rooms.
I will tell you this, too. Yeah. Stone Temple Pilots seem to have their shit together, plus Soul Asylum. They collectively were a good band. I mean, both of them were really good bands. They were on point. And Jeff Gutt from STP, man, he can just nail it. Just great. Yeah, I mean,
they found a great singer. I tell you what, that is one band I have not seen live yet, and that is a bucket list band for me. Stone Temple Pilots.
And it sucks that we only got to hear 3 songs from STP Friday night. But
I'll tell you what, next time they hit somewhere between you and me, bro, because I know you're in, middle, South Illinois ish, wherever.
Illinois, yeah.
next time they come somewhere in between, we'll keep an eye on the tour and we'll go see them.
Hell yeah, that sounds good. Well, we are not here to discuss music. We are here to discuss wrestling. So let's get into it, and let's kick things off with From the Desk of Max Mages. And you brought this to our attention. According to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, he reported the news and wrote that several WWE sources confirmed the news on Friday night that the Motor City Machine Guns will debut on NXT on the CW network on October 1st, if not before. And Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful also reported after signing the Pro Wrestling Nexus broke the news. So Sapp wrote that months ago, AEW sources said that the duo had not been signed and they were not in the company's plans, though there had been Sabin and Shelley are two of the top stars in TNA history, and they held the tag team titles 3 times. And Sabin is a 10-time TNA X Division champion. Shelley has also held the X Division championship, and both men won the world title as well. They have also held the tag titles in New Japan and ROH and other promotions. So, Max, I know you are just stoked about the Motor City Machine Gun signing with WWE.
There has been speculation for months, ever since it was announced, this is our last show. We are no longer working with these guys. And it wasn't done negatively. They were very positive about their time with their previous company. But there's been speculation for months. Where's the Motor City Machine Guns going? And everybody has said, the rumor is they may show up on NXT, or they may show up at this, or they may show up at this. And this week, it was finally made official. One of the greatest tag teams to ever step into that ring, to lace up their boots and put on a show, is coming to WWE. That's right. They're starting on NXT. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody that comes into WWE might need a little bit of time down at NXT, but that should vary depending on where you've been working. For example, if I was working down in TNA, spend a few months in NXT, and then go to the main roster, unless I'm AJ Styles, because, that man needed no NXT time. But if I came from, say, AEW, why would you put me straight on the main roster as the women's? But that's beside the point. The fact of the matter is the Motor City Machine Guns have arrived. We will see them very soon, and I couldn't be more excited. And I know, looking at the chat over here, that I am not the only one that's excited. And Bell's boy, I'm being nice tonight because of the Goonies news, just so we're clear.
There you go. Well, that is exciting news. J-Bunny, are you pumped for Motor City Machine Guns on NXT, man?
Honestly, I would have been happy if they went to WWE or AEW. They just need to be, they deserve a bigger stage. They have deserved a bigger stage in the US for a long time. And they are absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly with Max Mages. They are absolutely one of the, best tag teams in the last couple decades.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken on everybody, and they've done their own things across several companies together and individually. So yeah, they've done it all. It's great to see them finally get the recognition that they deserve, and I'm glad. Put it this way: if Vince was still in charge, you'd never see him there. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. I was surprised that he brought AJ in and like he did. I mean, that was just shocking coming from Vince, and he gave him a push too. But real quick, it's not whether they deserve to go to the main roster or to NXT. The reason they're being introduced at NXT is to introduce themselves to NXT, and then they're going to make the jump so that they make a big splash.
You wouldn't. You're right. You wouldn't see Motor City Machine Guns if Vince McMahon was still at the helm of WWE. And it sucks that they're in talks of possibly pushing out Triple H in Endeavor. It it wouldn't make sense, man. It wouldn't be the product that we've all come to love. And this has been way too long in the making that Triple H is at the helm of this company, because he's done so many great things. I mean, shit, they brought back Blood. Come on, man.
It is way too early to end the greatest era in WWE history.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of Blood, WWE has undergone significant changes over the past year, particularly after Endeavor merged with the company with UFC. Despite maintaining a family-friendly image, a recent shift on WWE's official website has caught the attention of many fans. Blood has always been a big element in pro wrestling, and for several years, WWE avoided showcasing it. Vince McMahon. In fact, when Blood appeared in matches, the company deliberately downplayed its presence on their website. Now, one way they did this was by turning any photo that featured Blood into black and white, effectively removing the color red from the images. This Blood in photos policy impacted how numerous iconic matches were documented on their site, as any image containing Blood was altered. However, it seems that WWE has now reversed that long-standing rule. On Friday Night SmackDown, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa kicked off the show with a cage match for the undisputed WWE title. The match was intense, and Cody Rhodes suffered a cut on his forehead, leaving him bleeding throughout the bout, his blonde hair visibly stained with blood as the match progressed. And when WWE posted the photos from September 13th USA Network season premiere, fans noticed a striking difference that none of the photos were in black and white when it featured Blood. And for the first time in years, images of Cody's face appeared, as you can see in the picture here, appeared in full color, marking a departure from WWE's previous policy. This change is likely to be well received by the fans, who look forward to reliving their favorite moments throughout the photo galleries of WWE. Now, with the network going to Peacock and all that, and pay-per-views on that streaming service, will they, Max, do you think that they will re-edit those and put the Blood back in and not black and white it out? Or do you think that that's just something that we have to live with?
I think that once we go to Netflix, we're going to have a slightly more open show. I think that one of the things holding us back right now is, maybe USA. And maybe the leashes have been loosening over the last several years, but you still have restrictions that are put on you by the network or by your sponsors. Going to Netflix, your audience is slightly different. And that's the thing I wanted to point out, though. Gear his product to kids with just enough entertainment to keep the adults hooked in. That's what made NXT different. Triple H was gearing it towards adults, but keeping it to where kids could watch it without there being a problem. That was the difference between those two shows when Vince was still in charge. Now, when we go to Netflix, I think the Blood's going to be able to return. You're going to be able to do things that you haven't been able to do since the Attitude Era, because now you're on Netflix. The rules are not the same. And your sponsors know that, and they're going to be like, okay, you're on Netflix now. Here, we'll keep sponsoring, keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to be able to do other stuff. But here's something I want you guys to think about. There is a guy I know here in Denver. He's a local wrestler, and we've talked about him before, usually just in the messenger. I don't usually bring up what he has to say on the show, but I want to talk about this for a second because I think it 100% applies to what we're discussing right now. His post was about the bag spot and the needle spot and the all the stuff that they did in AEW recently.
Oh yeah.
He thinks it's time to
meaning on All Out.
Right.
Yeah.
He thinks it's time to eliminate spots like those from wrestling. Now, hear me out, because I kind of agree with him, but I agree with him for a different reason than he presented. He says, I say this for a different reason than most, though. I'm saying it because those type of spots don't mean shit anymore in today's wrestling landscape. The fans nowadays are basically desensitized, and everyone knows it's just part of the show. Fans don't believe anyone is actually getting hurt. So why, as workers, should we continue to mutilate ourselves and push the envelope if there's no return on the investment. Those types of spots used to get shock value. They used to get the fans to say, I know everything else is fake, but that shit was real. Nowadays, wrestling fans are just like, oh, yeah, that was neat. Next match, please. So it's not going to get the reaction you want. Why keep doing it? If the fans are going to treat seeing a guy getting set on fire the same way they do seeing a guy take a body slam, why not just choose the safer choice and do a body slam? Why, as a worker, should you take the risk if it's going to be met with golf claps? Work smarter, not harder. Now, I do want to give him credit for his post. His name is Eric Angel. I've known him for years here in Colorado. He's worked all over the U.S. He is one half of the Canadian Pit Bulls tag team. He and his partner are just amazing people. I'm glad I've gotten to know them. Now, I agree with him, but for a different reason. So I think that if the story doesn't need it or doesn't call for it, it shouldn't be there. Eric Angel once had a lynching match. He's black, by the way. He had a lynching match against a white wrestler who was spewing all kinds of racist stuff leading up to this match. That's what led to this match. So lynching Dalton Bragg, his opponent, was necessary to the story that had been told up to that point. Was that bag that was put on Daniel Bryan's head, was it necessary to the story? The bleeding that Cody did during the cell, was it necessary to the story? I think that if it's not necessary and it doesn't help you advance your story in a tangible way, don't do it. Don't take the risk right now. Notable exceptions, if you're running a deathmatch tournament, that's completely different. Do your thing, destroy each other. I'm good with that. But we're talking standard wrestling stuff. All right, let's treat ourselves better. Let's give ourselves more matches, and let's not do something that's not totally necessary or relevant to our story.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it is important to bring in those elements of how you're trying to tell the story. You know, if it is, I mean, J-Bone, if it is, we've seen this. I mean, if it has been a bitter rivalry between two wrestlers, you are going to have blood. And you're going to have other elements of destruction brought into a match, you know, and just like what we're talking about here with AEW and the current stuff that we're seeing, the past is still important too. You know, we have to remember that Stone Cold Steve Austin, Drew Blood, The Rock Drew Blood, Triple H is like the king of blood. Fucking Ric Flair is the king of baby aspirin blood. And we have to remember that. I mean, we have to remember that. So why would we erase history on the network or on Peacock or wherever these past prior pay-per-views are going? Why would we eliminate blood when that's been so significant to the storyline? Is what Max said.
Yeah, I'm all for doing some extreme stuff. And look, I get people's point of view. I'm not going to tell people are wrong for having that point of view. Like I know there's stuff out there with the whole light tubes and stuff like that gets really insane. And I'm glad that the bigger brands like AEW and WWE don't go that far. Like once in a huge while you'll see something like that, but that stuff it's not just, oh, he landed on some glass. No, there's other aspects of it that is really unhealthy for the wrestlers. And the point of doing all this stuff is to entertain. You don't want to hurt the other guy. There's ways to do it and keep the other guy relatively safe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I and I look at footage of guys that I learned about through the years, and like, we've talked about like Dark Side of the Ring over the years, and that is one series that I appreciate because I have become fans of guys that have put their bodies on the line, that have done some crazy stuff, some crazy shit, that I can appreciate. And it's all from decades ago. Guys like Bruiser Brody, that old time footage of Bruiser Brody going through if I'm wrong, then let me know I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Japanese crowd or something like that. And he's whipping like a 30-foot chain around, just like scaring the shit out of everybody. Mm-hmm. And like the matches he would have with Abdullah the Butcher and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that there's definitely some extreme stuff, and maybe some of that went a little too far at times, but Abdullah was crazy, and Bruiser was Bruiser was crazy too, but Bruiser was a family man. You know, he didn't just whip chains up and down the streets of wherever he was. He was a family man. You know, his career was ended way too short, and when people talk about him, I go look up old footage, and I'm like, man, this guy was iconic. Why was he not on a bigger stage? And it's just some things we'll never really know, but. And
you have to think about, Mick Foley. I mean, my God, the punishment that guy put through himself,
for decades too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But going off the cell was completely necessary to that story, and you can't
really
convince me otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's they had a bitter rivalry. That's what I meant. Is that if you have a bitter rivalry, then you have to do those spots. I mean, those spots are going to be expected.
That was all special effects and camera angles and smoke and mirrors. He actually fell like 3 feet. It was amazing.
Wait a minute, there's a song in there somewhere. Wasn't it Cody's old song that was Smoke and Mirrors?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, they did some crazy stuff back then, but that was when, they were trying to maintain their hardcore audience, and they were in competition and also at risk of losing their jobs. I mean, that's how serious that was back, 30 plus years ago or whenever, back in the 90s. So crazy.
It's still nice to see that they're able to get away with these spots, especially on like network TV and not just a pay-per-view or PLE. Even on network TV, it's nice to see that they're still getting away with these spots, because I believe that those spots are very, very, very crucial to tell the story. Why are you going to have a bitter rivalry and not have somebody draw blood? You
draw an emotion for it. It makes you gasp in multiple languages. I usually gasp in Spanish.
That would be right?
No, that's just ay caramba. A gasp is a gasp.
Yeah.
I bet you couldn't tell what language that one was in, though.
No, that's hard. That's like
always German. No, that was Swahili. They're very close.
Well, damn, man, you are just a master of all languages, Javon. I mean, my gosh. Well, speaking of blood, let's put up the question of the day, and that is, are you excited for WWE Bad Blood? The company is gearing up for the return of one of its iconic pay-per-view events, and that is Bad Blood, and it's happening under the creative leadership of Triple H. The PLE is set for October 5th, 2024 at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, with a special start time of 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Max, what is it, Mountain?
Say, what times are we talking again?
We're talking 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. What time is that, Mountain?
And the only time zone that matters, mine. 4.
Yeah. Okay. The revival of Bad Blood pays tribute to the first ever Hell in a Cell match from October 1997, where The Undertaker faced Shawn Michaels in a legendary match that set the standard for Hell in a Cell bouts. And the match also marked the debut of Kane, a moment forever etched in WWE history. But Bad Blood 2024 will showcase some of the top stars in WWE. What promises to be a night of intense competition. Roman Reigns will make his long-awaited return to the ring for the first time since WrestleMania, teaming up with Cody Rhodes. As I have laughing.
I'm sorry. What I saw was somebody's hand come in and go, smell my finger, and J-Bone did it, because that's what you do when you're in love.
No, she one of my favorite scents is what's it called?
Careful.
Love's. It's from Victoria's Secret called Love Spell, and she just found the body wash.
Anyway, hi, Mrs. J-Bone.
They're saying hello.
In the cameo of your finger.
Well, no, it was like smelling the arm. It was
smelling the arm. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't smell my finger. That's crude.
I mean, she could have dipped her finger in the body wash and said, "Hey, smell it." Okay, back to what I was talking about. Roman Reigns is set to make his long-awaited return to the ring for the first time since WrestleMania, teaming up with Cody Rhodes. Fans will also be treated to a Hell in a Cell showdown between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So here is the current card as it stands. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell match. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. And Nia Jax will defend the WWE Women's Championship against the winner of a match between Naomi and Bayley. Please, 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 dear God, let it be Bayley. And going forward with some more news for Bad Blood, another title match is expected for the PLE. We'll get to what your thoughts are soon, J-Bone. Okay. The Undisputed World Championship, Cody Rhodes is already booked for tag team match with Roman Reigns against the Bloodline, but the WWE World Championship will be defended during the event with just under 3 weeks to go before the highly anticipated return of Bad Blood. A new title bout has been revealed, and that would be Gunther is slated to defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Sami Zayn at the event. Many fans have speculated this match will happen, especially the run-in on Monday Night Raw with Bret Hart. And Sami Zayn is the guy who defeated Gunther at WrestleMania 40, ending his over 600-day IC title reign. So that could be added to the card since the card looks a little light. They could add another match. Are we excited about that match? J-Bone, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, man. The card looks. I'm glad they're bringing back Bad Blood. The point I was going to make earlier, and it was more of a question to you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a few months ago wasn't there a scrum, and CM Punk was taking comments and questions. And someone said something to the effect of being in a Hell in a Cell match. Now, it was right after he returned, and CM Punk kind of nicely went off on the guy, like, this is why people like you aren't booking wrestling. It's like, well, holy crap, guys, we're there. He's going into a Hell in a Cell match. I don't remember when it was, but it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Okay, so CM Punk has competed in a Hell in a Cell before, competing in 5 Hell in a Cell matches in his career. The first was the World Heavyweight Championship loss of The Undertaker in 2009, and the most recent one was a handicap match inside the structure against Paul Heyman and Ryback in 2013.
Oh, God, Ryback, that's right.
So he has been in a Hell in a Cell match.
So the only relevant opponent in that match was Heyman.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm super excited. Bad Blood. Yeah, I mean the original. If you have not seen the original Bad Blood, go give it a watch, man. That original Hell in a Cell And the first sight, that was the first sighting of Kane, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's gotta be Kane, or whatever the hell he
Yeah,
said.
that was the first sighting of Kane. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. Max, you I know that you have been anticipating this PLE to return, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you go back and watch some of the old PLEs that are no longer being used, like Bad Blood is one of them. It's no longer Vengeance, by the way. It's Vengeance Day. But if you go back and watch the old Vengeance, some of these pay-per-views were better than the Big Four. And I hate saying that as a WWE fan, but it's true. And the reason is because a lot of times if you were on these smaller pay-per-views, you were trying to earn the right to be on the Big Four. And the people on the Big Four already knew they were there, so why do they have to put in as much effort? You know what I mean? But I have been rooting for the return of this particular one, and I've been so excited. I shouldn't have been excited until I heard the card, but like I told you guys earlier in the messenger chat, the advertising alone leading up to this, even though I didn't tell you what was happening, all you knew was Cody was sitting there on stakeout in the car watching the arena. Oh my God, that got me excited. I cannot wait to see this. But there's two things I want to point out. First off, you mentioned that we don't know who Nia's opponent's going to be, and I say that it's probably going to involve 3 or 4 women total. Nia and Tiffany will probably come out and mess with the match between Bayley and Naomi. So Nick Aldis may not have a choice but to put both of them in there against Nia. And then you got to remember that briefcase is still a factor. And if you make it a 2-on-1 with the face side, Tiffany may just cash in and make it a fatal 4-way. And I'm okay with this because then you kind of balance out what's not quite PLE ready in the match. And I don't want to sound demeaning to any of the wrestlers in this match. I have my opinions watching their work. So I think Tiffany and Bayley balance out what you might be lacking elsewhere. That's my opinion. The other thing I want to point out is I was in Denver when CM Punk came out to the ring and said, now that we have dealt with Drew McIntyre and that is over, I want to remind you guys what I said to you when I first made my return, that I came back because I have unfinished business. I am going after the World Heavyweight title. And then Drew McIntyre came out, attacked him. They took him out on a stretcher. And I'm like, wow. I really thought at least one of those two was going to be going against Gunther, but it looks like they're continuing. And then Gunther comes out to talk. Now, I'm in the stands and I'm thinking, you know what? Who could they possibly have come out to pick a fight with Gunther and set up for the next match? Oh, it's got to be Damian Priest, right?
Maybe.
And then Sammy's music hits. And I turned to Rowdy and I said, I did not see that coming, but I should have. Because you look at the Intercontinental title as a stepping stone, the United States title as a stepping stone. And what happened? Gunther did exactly that. He dropped the Intercontinental title, and what did he do? He went straight into the picture for the World Heavyweight title. Yeah. So now that Sammy lost the Intercontinental title and lost the rematches and whatnot, like Gunther went through, what is next for Sammy? Challenging Gunther. And this buildup has been brilliant. I love that Sammy keeps going out there and saying, the reason you keep ducking me, the reason you keep saying no, the reason you walk away every time I come out here to challenge you is because you know I can beat you. Because I'm the only one on this roster who has beat you. You are scared to face me. And what Gunther did on Raw this past Monday was brilliant. Because we were talking about it here at the house. He could have said Shawn, and that would have been a dig. But he didn't say Shawn. He picked the one name that would push Brett over. And Brett, for all his professionalism, I'm proud of him for standing there and just taking it. Gunther threw out Goldberg. That's his favorite wrestler. That was brilliant.
I popped for that. I was like, man, Gunther's full of shit. Ain't no way Goldberg is favorite. I said, but that is hilarious.
Yeah. I was waiting for Brett to fire back. Oh my God. I
You
was
son
waiting.
of a gun.
I'm like, oh, here we go. Brett's going to say something and we're going to go to a commercial and Brett's going to be escorted to the backstage. But I'm glad he kept his composure. That was brilliant on Gunther's part. And it did set up for a nice exchange between Gunther and Sami Zayn, which I'm kind of tired of seeing Sami Zayn trying to go after the title and go after Gunther again. I understand the story between those two is not finished. I wish it was because I've never been over on Sami Zayn. I don't know what it is about the guy, but I'm
He's
not
the ultimate
over.
He's the ultimate underdog.
He is. It's just annoying, man. It's like, oh my God, give him a bone, dude.
Here's the thing. I love Sammy for multiple reasons. Number one, he's the ultimate underdog. You throw him a challenge and he ends up overcoming it. All he had to do was not get pinned by Braun Strowman in under 5 minutes. And what did this man do? He survived a whole with Braun before they came out and called the match. Okay, he overcomes stuff. Number two, have you seen the man as El Generico? The man's hilarious as El Generico, and I really wish we've seen the Demon King show up for Finn. Why can't we get El Generico every once in a while? I think it'd be a funny thing to throw in, comic relief. Maybe have him interact with R-Truth. I don't know. But here's the other thing.
Oh, man.
When they first started going to Saudi Arabia, he wasn't invited. He wasn't welcome, and it's not because the WWE didn't want him there. It's because of his background compared to the prince and everybody else in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And eventually the prince said, you know what? If he wants to come, book him on the show. He's very entertaining. We'll ignore the rest. So what does Sammy do? Sammy shows up over there and he has the people eating out of the palm of his hand before he even gets in the mic and says a single thing on the microphone.
They love
him. They do. A country that at first rejected him because of his background, they loved him when he got in that ring. And the fact that he spoke to them in their native tongue, he is a very smart man. I don't know if he knew that before all this went down or he learned it for this purpose, but I am very impressed.
He's very smart. Sammy's very smart.
Yeah. I'm very impressed by his well-roundedness. He knew how to speak to those people. They were already eating up his presence, and he made them even happier. And I love Sammy because of his resilience he has overcome and his intelligence. He is one of the smartest people in that ring.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I may not watch the match. I may watch the match. I don't know, but I'm just saying I've never been over on Sammy. I understand he's like polar. He's polarizing. He's really good on the mic. Really good on the mic. I don't know.
And it's okay.
That I've never been over on. I've just never been over on the guy. Anyway.
And look, that's the thing about this business is we're not always going to like the same wrestlers. We're not always going to like the same managers. We're not going to always like the same stories, commentators, announcers, all of that. But the fact of the matter is that we can still come together, share our opinions on a show like this, because what matters is that we share a love for this business. We don't always agree on what the best parts of it are, but we love this business and we want to see the business advance, expand, grow, and survive in some cases. Because as much as we dislike Tony Khan and how he handles stuff, we don't want to see the workers go under. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're going to get into some AEW news. J-Bone, final thoughts before we move on.
You want to talk about maybe unpopular thoughts, like you say you're not into Sami Zayn that much. I'll do you one better. I've never been a Bret Hart guy.
Oh, whoa, wow, really?
And it's not that I don't like him. I appreciate him. I can appreciate what he's done for the business, but he was very popular and he had his Hogan run during a time when I wasn't watching. So I missed out on his best stuff. What I caught up though on is when he was brought into WCW and saw his stuff in there, which obviously was not his best stuff. And I completely can see that, you know. I get the controversy with Goldberg, but for a guy that I have never seen his stuff and to this day calls himself the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, I controversially am going to disagree.
I have to say this, and it's kind of standing up for Brett, because when he made the jump to WCW, he didn't have the upper hand in either company, in the WWF or in the WCW. And the reason he went to WCW was more money, and because of the fact that he hated Vince. So
yeah, he probably thought he was going to get a better better
opportunity.
For everything. Yeah.
But the thing is, he wasn't booked right in WCW. He was not booked right in that company versus how he was booked in WWF. I mean, he was super over, had amazing matches, and I mean, the guy could still wrestle even when he went to WCW. But I think the talent roster was different. I think the way that they booked was completely different, and I don't think Brett's heart was in it anymore when he went to the company.
The only thing that I like, I mean, this is off the top of my head. I know I've seen other stuff than this, but I know there was like some big triple cage match thing where Kevin Nash won the title again, and it was because Brett helped him in the end and kicked the door into whoever was trying to leave with it, which I think was Jarrett. I might be wrong. But, like, you know, it's stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's the greatest thing that Bret Hart did in WCW was kick that door shut, and Kevin Nash won the title again. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, J-Bone. I know I'm going to get canceled for it, but I don't care. It's like
I am often asked if I'm about to introduce somebody new to pro wrestling, and I had to pick one match to show them that I thought would hook them, what would that one match be? And we may have talked about this on the show before, but before I tell you my answer and explain the relevance, what would you guys show as your one match to try to get somebody hooked?
Oh, it would be Foley and Undertaker for sure on the Hell in a Cell match. Down.
Oh God. I would pick Hulk Hogan versus The Rock WrestleMania.
Okay. So here's the thing. Rowdy has always said to me, you want to judge the quality of a match, turn the commentary off. If you can still follow the story going on in the ring without the commentators telling you the story, that is a quality match.
I get you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
My number one match of all time is a match that fits that formula. You can turn commentary off and it is still a damn good match. You understand what's happening. And that is brother versus brother at WrestleMania 10, Brett versus Owen.
I knew you were going to pick that one. I knew you were going to pick that one. Yeah. I feel
personally, I have always believed that Owen was the better wrestler than Brett, and I just don't think he got the fair shake because Brett was there first, and everyone was so, oh, it's Brett. But they were both good wrestlers, and the reason I bring this up is because if those two can go out there and put a match on without commentary and still have the story come across to the fans, you know they had to be pretty good. So if you're ever looking for a match that will help you appreciate Bret Hart more, I recommend, even if you've seen it, go back and rewatch Brother versus Brother. Honestly, it doesn't just tell the story, but it's a technical masterpiece. It's got emotion. It's got it all. You should check it out. Now, if I had to pick a second match, it'd be Walter versus Pete for the title was phenomenal. All right.
Oh, in NXT UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had some good fights. Yeah.
No,
I hear you there. Yeah.
Well, let's move on and get into some TNA news, and that would be the big Victory Road PLE that we had not too long ago. Of course, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards reclaimed the TNA World Tag Championship at Victory Road, defeating ABC's Ace Austin and Chris Bay in a hard-fought match. The victory marks a significant moment for Myers and Edwards as they once again hold the coveted tag team titles. The match saw Chris Bay entering with an injury with his ribs, becoming a major target throughout the bout. And as the match progressed, Bay was isolated by Myers and Edwards, making it increasingly difficult for him to mount a comeback. But despite his resilience, the numbers game overwhelmed Bay. In a key moment, Alicia Edwards interfered by grabbing Bay's leg, leading to Eddie Edwards landing his signature move, the Boston Knee Party, for the victory. And Bay and Austin originally won the titles at the TNA Slammiversary, successfully defending the gold against First Class's Casey Navarro and AJ Francis during their reign. Meanwhile, Matt and Jeff Hardy recently defeated the System on the September 12th episode of TNA Impact. Now believe they're in line for another shot at the TNA World Tag Team titles. So, in J-Bone's total nonstop analysis, are you excited for a possible Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards versus the Hardy Boys in TNA? Or the
I got a feeling that's going to be the Bound for one of the main matches for Bound for Glory. Yeah, that
cool.
should be good.
Yeah, Max. I mean, it's set to be a pretty cool match, and I love how they're still involving, the Hardy Boys in TNA.
I'm a little surprised. Not that they're still involved in TNA, but when Matt first made his appearance at TNA a couple months ago, it was right before that Battle Royal on NXT. And do you guys remember what Matt said when he showed up? He said that he was going to handle business on TNA, and then on Tuesday night he was going to show up at the NXT Battle Royal and throw all those guys out. And I'm a little surprised that he still hasn't shown up on NXT yet after making that comment. I mean, even just a brief appearance, from what I've seen, it's like they're either keeping him at arm's length or he's keeping them at arm's length. But I do appreciate the fact that the Hardys still have work. I grew up on these guys. I mean, these guys were part of my generation of wrestling, and it sucks that Jeff fell down the hole that he did, and I hope he's finally gotten the help he needs. But I love these guys, and I want to keep them going.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's watching the Hardys now is not like it was, say, even 10 years ago.
Oh, no.
And it's because there's been some controversial things going on, and to me, it doesn't matter what brand they've wrestled on, whether it was going back to WWE, showing up in AEW, whatever. To me, it's lost a little bit of its pizzazz, but not enough that it's like ruined for me forever or nothing. I feel like if they're going to be featured in any brand, I feel like TNA is going to do it the best right now. Do I hope that they end up in the WWE Hall of Fame someday? Sure. Could that be something that happens next year? Sure. It's just a matter of timing,
Maybe it happens next year. But my understanding is next year is Bray's year, and I don't think they want someone as big as the Hardys to distract from Bray Wyatt's induction. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
So real quick, because we're talking Hardys, I just sent you guys a picture. And it's a picture that was faxed to Jeff Jericho with a list of printed names for the Lion Tamer.
Lion Salt, Lion Tamer. It's been named several different things.
Right.
Oh, Chris Jericho. Okay.
But anyway, the handwritten ones are his. The reason I sent this over is there's two names on this list. I don't know how they made it on the list. The handwritten one that's on there that surprised me is Doomsday Device. dude, Jericho, love you, but that name has already been used for a move. And the other one was on the printed up list that was sent to him, the Twist of Fate.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny. Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep it into the realm of TNA, because there's some big news about Steph DeLander that's coming out. So, of course, she earned some significant recognition in the indie wrestling scene for her talent and dedication. She was released by WWE in 2022, and she became a mainstay in TNA afterwards. But she announced she needed neck surgery during Victory Road, and now the legitimacy of that neck surgery has been revealed during TNA Victory Road 24 in San Antonio, Texas. A scheduled match between Rhino and PCO and Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander took an emotional turn before it could begin. Steph DeLander grabbed the microphone and delivered a heartfelt speech to the sold-out crowd, announcing that she would need neck surgery due to persistent pain. Now, despite interruptions from the audience, DeLander continued, ending her speech with an emotional line: "This isn't goodbye, it's see you later," touching reference to Sting's memorable WWE Hall of Fame speech in 2016. According to sources, Steph DeLander's announcement at TNA Victory Road about needing neck surgery was legitimate. As of now, there is no information on how long she'll be out of action, but Steph DeLander did end up signing a new contract with TNA, but her contract will likely expire by the time by the time she fully recovers. Now, regardless, we wish her well and pray for a speedy recovery for her. But J-Bone, do you think that okay, so she signed a new contract with TNA.
Yeah.
She goes for neck surgery, and by
Yeah.
she's been recovering from neck surgery, her contract with TNA will expire. We got that. Do you think TNA would drop her? Do you think that she'll have to go to a different promotion, or can we expect to see Stephanie DeLander remain in TNA?
It really depends on how recovery goes. And that's something you just can't assume on anything. It's like if someone, she's still pretty young. I mean, if someone breaks a leg or breaks an arm, even if they break a collarbone, which happens sometime in wrestling, or you tear a quad, there's a good chance that they'll come back. And when they get like anything back or neck related, there's no guarantee. I mean, yeah, we've seen miracles throughout the years. We've seen John Cena come back from neck surgery. After neck surgery, we've seen Kurt Angle do unbelievable things. We've seen one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion, Bryan Danielson, come back. And yeah, he didn't deserve a bag put around his face. No, I'm getting off track now. But yeah, so look, we've seen everything under the sun as far as comebacks in the world of wrestling. We're just going to have to wait and see how it goes for her. I feel like she was a great addition to the Knockouts roster because she was something a little different. She had a lot of charisma. She just had a different character that she brought. She was international. She brought a lot of different things. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
With injuries, Max, you know a little bit about injuries because you were in a promotion for so long. With an injury like maybe your neck or a torn quad or anything like that, anything severe. I mean, torn quads. Fuck, we saw Kevin Nash come back multiple times and tear his quad literally every single time he stepped into the ring. So let's focus on like a neck injury. Have you experienced? Have you dealt with anybody who got a neck injury inside the ring? Were they able to come back and perform at the same? Because I mean, you got to remember too, Steve Austin had that terrible pile driver. Which is the tombstone from Undertaker, delivered to him, and it messed him up forever.
Was that Owen that did that?
Was it?
The problem was Owen did it as a sit out pile driver, and Stone Cold slipped and was a little lower than he should have been, and so that's what caused that.
Right.
Okay. So
no, I just couldn't remember who else was involved in it. That's all.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. But with that being said, have you seen like a miracle happen where people come in from neck injuries and they return back to the ring and everything is fine?
So honestly, part of it depends on the severity of the neck injury. The fact that she is standing up, able to talk on the microphone at a pay-per-view to announce to everybody this is what's going on. The odds of her coming back are dependent on how long her rehab takes, like J-Bone said. Because the fact that she can stand up and do all that, it was not significant damage. Now, we have a guy out here in Denver that took a bad Canadian destroyer, and he is still going through the process, and this has been a couple of years. He's still in a wheelchair. He's still not back to even walking, let alone being able to do shows and wrestle. So like I said, that depends on the severity. It depends on how the healing goes, because that's the problem in Big E's case. The healing is not going how they want it to. That's why he's not back to active wrestling and he's still sitting on the sidelines. To go back to the contract thing about when her contract expires, what a lot of feds have done lately, and this is why Jeff had a weird leave time from AEW versus Matt, is they've started writing injury time into the contract. So if you take an injury and you're out, say 30 days for the injury, and your contract was scheduled to end September 15th, today, your contract now ends in 30 days in October instead because of the injury clause. You owe me 30 days of work because you were out for 30 days for injury. That is something that it depends on how they wrote her contract. Her contract may still be fully active by the time she comes back, even if she's out past the end date of said contract, if that injury clause is in there like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great comment from both Max and Mir, too. Big E hasn't come back from breaking his neck 2 years ago. And I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he hasn't been he really didn't come back to the ring after his neck injuries either. So it's going to be interesting to see how well Stephanie recovers from this, depending on the severity of the injury, the severity surgery that she needs to have. So we do wish her a speedy recovery, and hopefully she can come back. And if she doesn't come back for maybe like a competitive in-ring thing, come back and maybe manage PCO, since they're are they still, J-Bone, are they still married on TV?
Yeah, and that's that scuzzy Matt Cardona needs to just back off, man. I mean, she's a married woman now, It's
man. Yeah, piece of crap. All right, let's move on to some AEW news, shall we?
I'm sorry, my bad.
I know
it was a knee-jerk reaction,
right? So we have been talking and discussing the TV negotiations between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery, and they have yet to officially announce a new TV contract, and fans are eagerly awaiting the news. It seems that the deal might be nearing completion, though a recent report has caused some uncertainty regarding just how close the agreement is to being finalized. It was reported that AEW and WBD's deal is done. The deal is said to include a pay-per-view element and potentially involve the streaming service Max, which got fans excited as they started, thinking about what to plan for. However, according to sources, the story about the deal being finalized may have been exaggerated. According to the sources, the negotiations are still ongoing, although both sides are on good terms. AEW and Warner Brothers have moved past their exclusive negotiating window for the deal. While an official announcement is still pending, it remains to be seen how different the final agreement will be, and fans are left waiting for confirmation. So with all this going on between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery, there was something else that popped up during this time, and that involves Fox. There's been some news that AEW possibly could spawn a new show from the Fox network, from Fox Sports. Now, with the whole talks between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery, that big news won't be coming from Fox. I guarantee you that. There's been speculation about potential AEW and Fox collaboration, especially after Fox just lost WWE when SmackDown moved back to a USA network. All of this has opened up some possibilities. It appears that the story was not entirely accurate. Some sources addressed the rumor regarding AEW and Fox and confirmed that no deal exists between two companies, and there are no talks currently underway between AEW and Fox Sports, which is good because, okay, you have how many? 4 shows? You have 4 shows on TV. You have Rampage, you have Dynamite, you have Collision, and what's the other one that I missed? Is there 4 or is there only 3? AEW.
Well, they do the occasional one where they have all the belts on the line.
Okay.
It's called Belt Mania or something. I forget.
Okay. So we'll just stick with the big 3. We'll stick with
3,
Dynamite,
pretty much,
Rampage, and Collision. With those 3 shows that they're really not properly booking, why would we introduce a 4th on a different network when you haven't even cleared your negotiations with Warner Brothers Discovery? It just it wouldn't make sense. And this whole negotiation thing with AEW and Warner Brothers, those negotiations take time because I guarantee you Warner Brothers, the execs, are watching the product. They're watching AEW, and they're trying to figure out, okay, do we want to continue having this product on our network when, is it good? Is it bad? Clearly, it hasn't really been the best. It's hit and miss, honestly. There's some good shows, there's some really bad shows, more weighing heavily on the bad than the good. It's going to be interesting to see what the negotiations from Warner Brothers when they're done, and it could involve the streaming service Max. If they move their pay-per-views to Max, the streaming service, that will eliminate the need for having the other pay-per-view distributors, right? So Future Report, you wouldn't need them anymore. You would need the out of market or out of country markets to continue, maybe ppv.com or
the
something
Zone
like that.
or one of
the
those.
Zone, the Zone. So you wouldn't need everything you wouldn't need all these, because I feel like I'm just inundated with, whenever I'm watching like 0 Hour or like 0 Hour before we get to the actual pay-per-view, it seems continuously just apparent that there are a lot of ways to watch AEW, and I feel like Excalibur has to go down the entire fucking list. And it's like, dude, just pick one. Pick one. You don't have to say, you go watch it on here, there, here, there, here, Dave and Buster's, here, there, here. Stop, dude. Just pick one. Just pick fucking one and let people choose. Hey, if you're out of country, you can watch it on DAZN, or you can order it on Bleacher Report. And then in the other part of the broadcast, hey, if you're at Dave and Buster's, you can go to Dave and Buster's and watch it there, or you can watch it on Fight TV. Just not, or scan the QR code. Just say fucking scan the QR code and order it wherever you can.
Yeah, like make it a link tree thing and just go down the line. And some people are more comfortable with certain streaming services than others. Some people really like going to Triller, which I guess they're going all in, so to speak, on AEW and doing different packages, which is great. YouTube has become one of the newer options, which as far as I could tell, like TNA used to use YouTube, and that worked very well for them as far as quality, you know. There's the original pay-per-view where you're through your cable service, which is hit and miss for me. I hate ordering pay-per-views. Sometimes I can get it, sometimes I can't, and I have to call, and then I have to figure out how much of the pay-per-view I'm going to miss that I can't review, and it's bullshit. So so yeah, you've got a bunch of different ones. I get what you're saying.
It's just, I don't know. I feel like there was an easier way to get these pay-per-views versus all these streaming services that we have now. And, back in the WCW, WWF era in the 90s, all you had to do was call your cable company and say, hey, I want this pay-per-view added to my lineup, add it, and boom, you had it.
Yes, back in the before times when we had to spend $60 every month just to see one company's pay-per-view. If we wanted to watch the other, it was another $60. So as a wrestling fan, we were around $120 almost every month at one point.
Yeah.
And you know what? As much as that sucked, there are times when I do miss that. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that my streaming service is like, $12, and I get to watch every WWE PLE as it airs. That's great. I mean, my Netflix is more expensive than that, but that's all right because I use it for other stuff anyway. The value's still there. I'm going to get to see the WWE PLEs. Hopefully, Raw will show up the next day. That's something that pisses me off right now, by the way. If you go over to Peacock right now to try to catch up on Raw or SmackDown, don't bother. It's like a month behind.
A month.
Yeah. But here's the thing with the AEW side of stuff. Okay, first off, I've got a couple of facets of this thing that are intriguing to me. I know negotiations take time. I get that. But when was the last time you had a negotiation thing taking place for a TV deal or whatever that you heard about from the beginning all the way up to, we're close to a deal. We're close to a deal repeatedly. This is the longest negotiations that I've ever had publicized throughout the whole process. Honestly, usually you don't hear about it until about halfway through or towards the end. But for some reason, they've been telling us about it since it started, which was way early this year. So we're at 9 months of negotiations now?
Actually, I think it's more social media and the Meltzers and all those guys, honestly, I think are talking about it a lot more. The only time I see Tony talking about it, and I may be wrong, but the only time I see Tony talking about it is if someone brings it up in a scrum, which is once a month, if that.
I mean, he just came out on stage at whatever they were at and said, good news, everybody. We're going to be on TBS and TNT for a long time to come.
Are you talking about when he did that in his big boy voice?
Yeah.
I think that you have to think about how long it took for the negotiations to go through for the NXT and CW, and how long the negotiations took for Raw and Netflix, and how much of that wasn't publicized. I think because this is AEW, and everybody's pointing the finger at AEW to say, "Oh, look at this company. Oh, how are they going to top WWE this time?"
That's weird. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's weird to me.
I think because it's Tony Khan, and I think because it's AEW, and they want to see what the hell AEW is going to do. That's why they're publicizing it so damn much. And that's why we continue to talk about it, because these negotiations take time. They take a long time to go through, because, everybody wants the benefit. Everybody wants to be benefited in some way, shape, or form. And And I'm talking about AEW. Well, how is this going to benefit AEW in the long run, in the future? How's it going to benefit Warner Brothers Discovery in the long run, in the future? I mean, these take time because you're not just talking about an overnight thing. When Shawn Michaels and Triple H were in talks with CW, they wanted the benefit. They wanted that benefit, and so did the CW network. You know, the benefit of getting a product like WWE or AEW to a network is viewers, and viewers bring in advertising dollars, and the advertisers sell their products during the show. That's what media is all about. That's what TV and radio is all about. How many people are going to have eyes on that specific channel on your product so that we can go out and sell other shit. Now, with AEW, we've seen that the ratings between AEW and WWE are kind of even, to be honest. They all don't have the best days. It just depends on how you fucking book the product. Right. And we've seen that AEW consistently has bad shows. They've had bad shows for a long time. And I think the Baron actually posted a picture in our Facebook chat of and I don't know if this was before or if this was during or whatever the case may be. I think it was from Collision, but the stadium wasn't full. Like, it wasn't full at all. Maybe there were 300, 500 people there, tops. It just we just have to wait to see what we have to wait and see what happens with this, you know.
And the point I was making, though, is I just find it weird that this is on. We've been hearing about this for so long. Normally, the first reports that the negotiations are going on don't come in until late in the run. But yeah, we've been hearing about this one since January, February. Oh yeah, negotiations are going on for a WBD deal. It's just weird. But here's another facet I want to point out, because I said there was more than one facet to this whole thing. And that is that picture that you were talking about, Collision. The sheer number of open seats in that arena has got to be a factor in WBD's decision-making. They got to be looking at that and going, guys, you want this and this and this from us, but this is what you're producing right now. This set of stands. And I got to tell you, Def Leppard draws a bigger crowd than AEW, all right? Coors Field was packed. And yet, I look at these pictures. Listen, I've said this before. I wish no ill will on the workers of AEW. I want AEW to succeed for those workers. Your problem right now is that your guy in command is in his own way. If he would get out of his own way and let somebody else help, you wouldn't see the pictures like that. You'd actually see those seats filled. And this deal with Warner Brothers Discovery would not have been a long-term publicity. Guys, look, we'd have had a deal. They've only got a couple weeks left to secure this deal before that window expires. So listen, Tony Khan, cheap advice for you. Get out of your own way. Bring someone in that knows what they're doing. They'll fix all your problems, and that deal will just write itself, and you'll be on Max in no time. Not on me, because I'm not interested.
Well, with that being said, let's put some numbers together. AEW burst onto the scene over 5 years ago with a ton of hype around the company. They sold out a lot of venues, but it's hard to ignore that some markets are tougher for them to sell tickets for than they used to be. It's hard to ignore also that AEW struggles at this point as WWE is experiencing a booming period in their company's history. This is more proof of AEW having problems moving tickets, and they aren't performing that well in the same building as they did a year ago. And a surprising turn, AEW's Collision event from 2023 may surpass ticket sales of AEW Dynamite in 2024 at the same venue, the Maverick Center in West Valley City, Utah. Now, according to Russell Tix, with 30 days until the October 23rd, 2024 AEW Dynamite and Rampage tapings, the event has distributed just 1,026 tickets out of a current setup of 2,828. The available tickets stand at 1,802, with only a modest increase of 92 tickets sold over the past week. This presents a stark contrast in AEW Collision's performance at the same venue on October 7th, 2023, where over 2,000 tickets were distributed. With the current trend, it appears that Collision is on track to outsell Dynamite, potentially signaling a shift in fan interest or preference for the Collision brand. While there is still some time left for ticket sales to increase as the event approaches, the comparison highlights a possible growing popularity of Collision over Dynamite in certain markets. Fans and analysts alike will be watching closely to see how sales evolve as the event date draws near. Tony Khan is always booking big matches to boost attention, so only time will tell what he books for Utah, but that city may also have a very strong walk-up ticket sale to beat out last year's Collision event. It's also anyone's guess at how long it will be until the production team of AEW can show the seats on the hard camera side when they're not on a pay-per-view. And it just goes to show what we were just talking about. You know, you got to sell tickets in order to have a product, and you got to have a product to take it to TV, say, hey, my product's better than this product. Put us on the TV. Well, if you don't have asses and seats, you don't have a freaking product. And when you have terrible booking, you consistently don't have product, and you don't have asses and seats. So they're, like Max said, man, they're fighting their own selves. Tony Khan has always been in the way of Tony Khan, and I think another thing that Max brings up very, very well is that Tony Khan thinks of all of this shit that he's got from Daddy probably as his play figures. You know, like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that because I'm sitting in my bedroom and this is my show. I'm going to do whatever I want. But right now you're playing with money. You're an adult. This is adult land. Welcome to adulthood, bud. You're playing with money. And if you want your company to succeed, you need to get out of your own way and let the people that you've hired to run your company and book your company, book it and run it. Don't let the Young Bucks continue to book matches. They're not there to book. They're there to wrestle. And that's another problem that AEW has. It seems like everybody can book their own stuff. They have no creative team, no creative control whatsoever. Everything is just out of control, man. Everybody has different storylines going on, and everybody has different things that they want to happen, and they just let it happen, even though it isn't going to look good on TV. So I think that they need to get a creative team. I'm sure they've got one. I'm sure they do. Utilize it, and stop letting the wrestlers book themselves. Let them sit down with the creative team and say, yeah, that's not going to work. Let's move it this way. You know, I've heard Chris Jericho talk about matches that he has pitched to WWE, and they turned it away. They turned it down because it just wasn't going to be good. It wasn't going to be. It's not going to make any sense. Yeah. You know. So AEW, the biggest, we'll say this until we can't breathe anymore. Tony Khan is the biggest fault in AEW, and he needs to step aside and go figure out what the fuck's going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, because that NFL team is garbage.
So, listen, here's, as a wrestling fan, and we wouldn't be here right now if we weren't wrestling fans. That goes for everybody in our chat too. As a wrestling fan, we should be in one of the most exciting eras in pro wrestling history, because we have not had this many choices for what to watch since ever, really. I mean, unless you consider the territory days.
Since the Monday Night Wars and the territory days, absolutely.
Well, the Monday Night Wars, we had 2. Now we have WWE, AEW,
Well,
TNA, NJPW, because that's starting to be a little easier to see in the U.S. We have options. We have so many options. And we should be united because we're wrestling fans. Our love for the business should supersede the battle lines. And we're not here trying to bring down AEW.
No.
Okay?
Right. Correct.
The last time you let the workers have this much control over their gimmick and their storylines and their matches, WCW fell and blamed everybody but themselves for their downfall. As a wrestling fan, I want us united. I have options. I love Jericho. I think he's a great wrestler. I should be able to watch his matches. Now, from what I understand, they haven't been that great right now, but overall, AEW has just not delivered for me. You know, I should all be collectively saying, hey, listen, we like your people. Can you kind of improve your booking? Or, hey, don't get rid of Triple H. He's the best thing that ever happened to WWE. Or, hey, Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry, we love them. Keep featuring them on TNA. But instead, what we always find ourselves sitting here doing is going, look at this empty arena for AEW. And look at what these guys are doing right. And I hate that. Or we've got the guys that are AEW loyalists that are going, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You wouldn't know good wrestling if it bit you on your ass. Really? Because I saw that match 20 years ago in WWE, the one that you are praising over there in AEW. Tell your boy to step his game up or get out of the booker's chair. Because I want to be excited for wrestling again. I want that thrill. But I can't do it in the modern era. I mean, I love WWE, don't get me wrong. But my competition over here that should be helping everything improve is just misstep after misstep after misstep. You have Collision, Rampage, Dynamite, Ring of Honor. Use Ring of Honor as your developmental and do something with your company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just we just keep circling back to this because thinking of, I mean, J-Bone, I'm thinking of the Monday Night Wars and how well that sold. We will never get to that again. We'll never get to that point of wrestling again. And we also have to think about all the territories too that we had back in the 80s and in the 70s as well. And we, just like Max said, man, we are in a special time where wrestling is continuing to be a main topic. People are getting into wrestling when they weren't into wrestling before. Yeah. And that's why all these companies have got to be firing on all cylinders, including AEW. Because if you really want to compete with the big boys, if this is where the best wrestle, we're not seeing the best out of the company. We're not seeing the best out of the production team. We're not seeing the best out of the booking. We're not seeing the best out of anything of AEW. So if you want to really consider yourself that we're the place where the best wrestle, prove it. Because right now you're not proving it.
Right. And honestly, with the roster that they do have, they should be packing arenas. I mean, you look at the rosters, it's like, yeah, and some of their storylines may be, kind of stale here and there. But you've got Jon Moxley, you got Swerve, you got Bryan Danielson, you got Ospreay, Okada, Chris Jericho. I mean, the list goes on and on with the. I mean, anybody could look at this roster on paper and be like, "Are you serious?"
And then you have the women's division too. You have Mercedes Moné, who should be firing on all cylinders, and she's not. You have Britt Baker. You have Willow Nightingale, who apparently is really over. You have what's her name? Nyla Rose, is that her name?
Nyla Rose is not. Yeah, she's been there since day one, along with Britt Baker, and they've brought in a bunch of, they brought in a few WWE gals, and they've made stars out of other gals from the indies.
Yeah.
So yeah, the women's talent roster is above and beyond what it used to be. They've completely and over replenished it, honestly. back from when the pandemic happened. I know nobody likes to talk about it, but that's, there was, so many travel issues and they lost over half their girls. So they had to make new stars. And that's what they did. And I'll give them credit for that. That ain't easy. Not every company knows how to do that or is able to do that. So, yeah, it's just, but they got to learn how to sit down in a room, and it can't be just one guy doing it. They've got to start farming out ideas to other people. Be like, all right, you take the women's, you take the tag teams, you take the U.S. title reign, whatever. They've got to start doing that. And we want there to be more options of people to wrestle for. It's healthy. It can't just be WWE, and it can't look. And TNA is getting better, and I'm biased. I love TNA, and they are certainly, it took them years to dig themselves out of the hole they're in, and they're finally starting to put a few thousand seats in these smaller arenas, which is amazing to see. Keep it up, TNA. But they got to figure it out before they don't have any TV deal. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, when it's too late, what are you going to do? And I think the big thing is with AEW is that when you talk about roster, you talk about all the people that are on your roster, and you talk about how much are they paying all these people to keep them afloat, to keep them around. And there's one name that is starting to make its rounds about joining the AEW roster. And since parting ways with WWE, Matt Riddle has been actively involved in various wrestling promotions, including Major League Wrestling, New Japan, and others. Now, while speaking in an interview on SI's The Takedown, Riddle discussed the possibility of joining AEW and his meeting with Tony Khan. Riddle praised AEW, acknowledging its quality and expressing appreciation for the people that work there. And he mentioned that after his WWE departure, he found relief and realized the high level of stress he experienced while being on TV. Riddle considered AEW a potential opportunity for better pay and a more manageable schedule. Riddle emphasized his desire to step away from the TV scene for a while and focus on working the independent circuit instead. Riddle also pointed out that MLW's partnership with New Japan and New Japan's connections with AEW might lead to future appearances on the platform of AEW, though he couldn't confirm specifics. Now, he recounted his interaction with Tony Khan, where he was unsure if Khan appreciated the sarcastic humor, despite feeling that Khan was pleased. The encounter left Riddle somewhat uncertain due to a miscommunication. Matt Riddle also believes that he has a high chance of returning to the WWE. We'll have to wait and see whether the original bro will make his way to either Tony Khan's company, as there might not be any spot left in the company by the time he goes there. So, do you think that Matt Riddle, Max, and I know J-Bone, you laughed at that, but do you think, Max, that Matt Riddle make his way to AEW? And do you think that, because honestly, okay, it depends on how much Matt asks for and how much Tony Khan is willing to give Matt. Will he have to cut another freaking star? I have an idea. I really think that Matt Riddle is way better than Mercedes Moné. So let's get rid of Mercedes. Bye. Let's get Matt Riddle in here. Come on now. Bro.
I think it's a lot more than that. It's we got to look at the big picture here. We got to look at why he's gone from WWE. There's no reason why he should have been gone from WWE in the first place. Look at what he was doing to himself. He was killing himself. He's on Molly's. I'm 50 years old, and I don't know what the fuck a Molly is, but obviously it's not good for you if the guy's on it and he got fired for it. You know, I'm old school. It's like I know what cocaine is, I know what heroin is, I know what weed is. You know, you go beyond that, they're bro, you got issues. You know, if you're diving into things that people got to look up and see what the hell it is.
But outside of that, if he's seriously considering a career in AEW, don't you think that they're going to drug test him there too?
I think we got to give Tony Khan credit for one thing, and that's his experience with Jeff Hardy. Look at what happened with Jeff Hardy. Probably spent God knows how much on Jeff Hardy, and look what Jeff did. He could spend double that on a young up-and-coming athlete like Matt Riddle. And if Matt Riddle is going to take half of that and put it in a needle up his nose or whatever he's doing to himself, it's not worth it. So I think he's got to look big picture at, is he a great athlete? Sure. But you got to look at what he's been doing lately, which isn't much, which honestly speaks volumes. If the guy's in a company like MLW that, well, let's be honest, not too many people are watching. I'm not sure how he got into New Japan, considering I don't know. I don't know. if he's doing these things to himself, I don't know how he got over there and just I don't know. I've seen what he's done after matches. The fact that he like left and just like, you know, basically jogged up the aisle after a match after he lost, like, hey, what's up? Like he had no clue where he was. Yeah, it's look, I like Matt Riddle. I like the Matt Riddle from 2017, and maybe he wasn't that different than how he is in 2024. But let me tell you, man, he had a brighter future back then than he does now. He's got some serious reflection to do on his own life, career, and surroundings. If he thinks he's going to go to a big stage like AEW or even come close to going back to WWE.
So first off, Molly is ecstasy, and that's one of them drugs that's meant for the bedroom. So I'm not sure why he's taking it before wrestling. That just seems a little weird.
Well, yeah, that's gonna dehydrate you, which makes it dangerous for you and your opponent. So yeah, maybe don't take mollies in your career of wrestling.
Secondly, if he does end up in AEW, there's a good chance he can catch a coke habit. And if that's what he wants, more power to him.
Well, it's I think that if you get rid of some of the people that are just dead weight in AEW, you could well outside. I'm talking talent. I'm talking talent. If you get rid of some of the dead weight talent wise in the company, I think that you couldn't rule out Matt Riddle becoming a part of AEW, but Matt would have to comply with their drug standards and their drug policies and the drug testing and that thereof. And if he can't do it, like he couldn't do it in WWE, now maybe this if they give him like a part-time schedule, maybe, because it wouldn't be as hard on his body, and it wouldn't cause him to have to turn to those solutions. So maybe, possibly, I don't know. We'll just have to see, because honestly, will Matt Riddle be able to save the company? No. And I think that's what I think that's what Tony Khan is looking at too. Like, what's going to save? Who can come in big name wise and save my company? Is Matt Riddle a big name? No, he's not. Was Mercedes Moné a big name? No, she's not. Who was the big name? Chris Jericho, Sting. You had
Edge.
You had Jeff Hardy. You had all these big names that were in AEW, and some of them are still there, but others have left for greener pastures. And
the ones that might possibly be able to save his company are not interested in working for him. They are WWE loyalists and will remain under a Legends contract or whatever contract they have with WWE.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only people that are working for Tony Khan are the people that are probably either ready or they just not ready to retire back. Like, he won't take him back.
Dizzy, we're losing you.
Oh, okay. Let's get this wrapped up. Last story that I have here. It's a big one. Since his departure from WWE after WrestleMania 39, Shane McMahon has remained away from the wrestling spotlight. However, recent rumors have stirred speculation about his potential involvement with the company, especially following a rumored meeting with AEW CEO Tony Khan. Now, Pete Gass, a close friend of Shane, addressed these rumors as well. On July 29, 2024, Khan and McMahon held a private meeting at an office in Arlington Airport. This was their first direct discussion, despite Khan's previous interest in connecting with McMahon. The meeting reportedly focused on exploring potential collaborative opportunities, which led to rumors about McMahon's possible future role in AEW. Now, of course, Pete Gass, a former member of the Mean Street Posse and a very longtime friend of Shane's, talked about the possibility of Shane joining the company. And when he was asked about the idea, Pete said, "Never say never."
Wow. Dizzy, you're frozen up again.
Explain that Shane is known for keeping things secret and embracing kayfabe. Am I back? I'm having problems with my P. His P is being stupid. That possibly you've never seen. Many people thought that Shane was the debut on pay-per-view that month. So Shane television. I mean, eventually fans would love to see that happen. I think a lot of people would love to see that happen for Shane to come in and possibly save the company too. So we'll have to see. I mean, it'll be interesting if these talks continue between Shane and Tony. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, they were going to have to wrap it up.
All right. While he's frozen, I'm going to say two things real quick.
Okay.
Mean Street Posse for the win, baby. I love Mean Street Posse. Number two, Shane possibly could save the company if he convinces Tony to let somebody else handle the booking. But that goes down the road of we need to get away from WWE. Let's hire someone from WWE. I just think that it's a mistake to bring Shane in when you're trying to get away from WWE.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to. I don't know. I think that it's not a mistake if you can find a way to keep it away from the WWE. I think if Shane just focuses on AEW and maybe takes some ideas that work for WWE on and put it forth for that company, might work. And put their own little twist on it. But we'll have to see what happens. I'm very interested in seeing if Shane will join Tony Khan's company. But with that being said, My internet service provider is being an asshole, which means we have to cut this. We got to cut it short. Max, how can they follow you, sir, for more wrestling stuff?
All right, before I give you my handles, let me just say thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure talking to all you people every week. Please keep coming back. Tell your friends about us. And since Jordan's not here, the Baron has missed the night. Let me tell you, go follow at Scumbag Jordan with 3 N's.
Yeah.
Find me at Max Mages. Find my nerdy stuff at Our Shots Podcast. And thank you once again for tuning in.
Yeah, and yes, please follow the Baron on social media, Scumbag Jordan with 3 N's. J-Bone, how can they follow you, sir?
You can find me on the old Twitter box at JBone5150, and you can also find me on that other little show called Total Nonstop Impact for content that we're doing newly on Tuesdays because of the NXT TNA stuff, and mainly on Thursday nights. So you can see me there. You can also see me on the occasional Smash This podcast that I've been trying to bring back recently. So I'm all over the place. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere.
Yeah, maybe we should do another dual stream on Smash This podcast and YouTube or our channel, Twitch, or whatever the case may be. So yeah,
we'll do something.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow our show at Ramblers Unleashed here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and it'll let you know whenever we go live. You can also follow us on Facebook. Search for Ramblers Unleashed, and you can follow us on X2 at the Ramblers Pod. And we'd love to have you follow along. And again, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell your coworkers that we do this every so often. Come on here and give you the best wrestling news that we can find on the internet. After we scour the internet, we try to bring the best content towards for you. And we're happy to do it. And that's what we're here to do. In the meantime,
one more thing you should point out.
Yeah.
If like Barry, you'd rather go to Twitch, we do have a Twitch account.
We do have a Twitch account. And J-Bone, that Twitch is?
Ramblers Unleashed, I believe.
Okay, so find us on Ramblers on our Twitch at Ramblers Unleashed, which we dual stream. It's from YouTube to Twitch too. So thank you, J-Bone, for setting that up. You are a genius and a mastermind, and we certainly do appreciate you. And
don't spread that shit around.
And we will figure out new times to go live. It might have to be just at random. I have no idea.
Typically, the Saturday afternoon works. It doesn't always work. It's usually sometime on Saturday, but now it's becoming a little harder. We'll figure it out. Just follow the social medias. Those are in the description, I believe, as well. So if you follow those, we always, try to promote them.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything else that comes up on the show or as far as news goes, we will definitely tweet it out and let you know. In the meantime, please do enjoy professional wrestling for what it is, no matter what promotion you watch. Don't be a smart mark and just watch one company and say, oh, this is the best company ever. Watch it all, man. Watch it all as a professional wrestling fan. And until next time, we'll do it again. See ya.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to Ramblers Unleashed. Follow the show on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click the bell icon for notifications of upcoming episodes.